presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Swing and a miss. Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Fans being out there making this a great impact.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Game day for Oregon men's basketball in Corvallis. The Ducks getting ready for the rivalry matchup. 7 o'clock tip-off on ESPN+. Myself and Luke Jackson have a 6:30 pregame show for you across the Oregon Sports Network. Ducks, Beavs, rivalry renewed. The most contested rivalry in men's basketball history. Another edition here tonight. I'm really looking forward to that 6:30 pregame show. Last time Luke was there, he had a double-double on steroids. So I'm curious for the return to Gill in a working capacity for Luke Jackson, my broadcast partner tonight. Big game. First road game for the Ducks. Heard from Coach Altman yesterday saying that he wants to keep this game going. I want to keep this game going for so many different reasons. Ducks, Beavs, 7 o'clock tonight. Hope to see a lot of green up at Gill Coliseum. Today, we're also going to get to know the OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire, Austin Oda. You've heard him calling a number of KWVA broadcasts and Big Ten Plus broadcasts this year. Getting to know Austin Oda. Big win for Oregon women's basketball last night. 6-0 start for Kelly Graves and company. First time that they've started 6-0 since the 20-21 season. 70-68 win over an SEC foe in Auburn. Big win. Go Ducks. Nice to see Philippina Che back in the starting five. We'll recap that here from Coach Graves' postgame as the Ducks are traveling today. They've got their tournament over the Thanksgiving week in Hawaii. Not a bad trip for Chris Clayton and the Oregon women's basketball team. And also to kick things off today, I've had a number of fans ask about the Diamond Sports and where they're at after fall. We heard from Melissa Lombardi already. Now let's hear from Oregon baseball head coach Mark Wasikowski. We talked with Waz just this morning here in the Country Financial Studio, getting an update on Duck baseball with Mark Wasikowski. We get a chance to talk a little bit of baseball. Fall ball, alumni weekend, getting ready for the winter, and then practices start soon. Mark Wasikowski is here, Oregon baseball head coach. Since we last talked, how have you been?
Great. No complaints.
No complaints at all. All right, take fans through the offseason, Coach. From the day that the season ends until now, what have you and your staff been up to?
It's just recruiting like crazy. And the good news is with our success, we've been able to get in on the best guys. And the best guys are non-committal at this point. They're the best guys for a reason, and everybody's on them. And so it's the who's who of college baseball is at the start, we weren't able to get the phone picked up by those guys. The David Petersons, I guess, of the world that we got to come to Oregon back in the day. They weren't picking up the phone right away, when we first got in, and now they are. And so now the next step, obviously, is not just to have the calls and the visits, but to get the yeses and to get them to campus then is the next phase of that. So one step at a time, we're making progress.
On the recruiting trail, baseball is, I think, a difficult sport to recruit, Coach, because of the way the professional ranks are set up. How challenging is it? You want the best guys. That guy also might get drafted. And how do you build out your roster with all that in mind? How tough is that?
No, I'm less concerned about that. Really? It's just like any business. I mean, if you're a business person out there and you're saying, I've got 4 people I get to choose from, which person do you take? You take the best person, sure. Right? Sure. For the job, whether it's most qualified, whatever you're picking for whatever reasons, you're taking the best. And so, that question is more or less, are you worried that the best people in the game then would just go on and bypass college and show up in a pro ball and just skip that whole thing, you know. And so for me, why would you want to skip out on the best guys? You know, David Peterson, Ryan Nelson, you know, those guys are the best guys. So when you get them and you get them to campus, they're going to be the best guys when they're playing for you. And so if you pass on them during the recruiting time because you're scared they might not come to campus, and let's not forget you got NIL now. That's not an outside the possibility of anybody now showing up to campus. And so it's a totally different dynamic. And even without NIL, I don't like looking at the best talent and saying, oh, I don't want you. You're too good. Right. You know, that's the most crazy thing I've ever thought of.
So have you seen with the onset and the change around college athletics, I mean, you talk about NIL and everything like, have you seen that more and more of the best are maybe interested in going to college for baseball instead of, you know, I don't know, 10 years ago when it was always like go from high school straight to the pros? You're seeing more guys want to play in college?
Well, I mean, they're seeing it themselves, you know, I mean, and so when they're saying, okay, so what's this thing like in college baseball? I'm playing in front of massive crowds that are not just crowds, you know, they're not – big league crowds are awesome, right? But they sit on their hands. They're there to sit there and enjoy the experience. A college crowd is there to win the game, and they're to be a part of the team. That's the mindset of a crowd in college sports, or a good crowd, an Oregon crowd. The crowds that we've been seeing here recently, they're people that want to win the game. They want to be a part of the team, and they are a part of the team, and they're the energy. So I don't know. I think the kids now, they're starting to look at this thing and go, okay, so I can be on charter flights. I can play in front of huge crowds. I get breakfast, lunch, and dinner paid for. Not only paid for, but when I show up to the dining hall, I'm eating salmon and steak. And, I mean, this is lunch at Oregon. You know, I mean, and I'm going, we didn't have this stuff. We didn't have any of this stuff. And so, you know, the next time that you would be treated in the way they're treated at the University of Oregon and some of the schools that we're competing against is when they get to the major leagues. They could be a AA, AAA, single A guy. They're not going to be treated nearly as well as they will be at the University of Oregon. Kids know it. And that's why they're going to school more.
Sounds like a good recruiting pitch. Oregon baseball head coach Mark Wasikowski. Off season, too, you have guys that go and play a lot of times, Waz, in the summer leagues and all those sorts of developmental opportunities. How big of a deal is that, just the off season before they're back on campus with you?
Well, it's big because you can't, in order to get strong, you got to put in the work. And so for us, the first thing that we talked about at the first press conference, I think, was we were going to invest in that weight room, and we were going to get big, and we were going to get physical. We were going to hit the ball over the fence because it's easier to score that way. We were going to bring energy to the crowd that, you know, I'm sure, you know, everybody, I've got friends of ours that, you know, specifically one family that consistently reminds me, chicks dig the long ball. and I love it. I think that's important because it's easier to score runs that way. It's more entertaining. There's a physicality to our team that now pops out to pro scouts when they come in, and maybe they're guys that are national guys or East Coast guys, and they pop into Eugene and they go, holy cow, you guys are big. You guys are physical. You can hit the ball over the fence with the best of them. And it's not just about hitting it over the fence. It's not a home run derby. But there is a look to championship-level college baseball teams, and I think we're checking that box now, and that starts during the off-season. And so when you say off-season, it's kind of like the bye week in football, and Dan says it perfectly. It's a work week. You know, I haven't seen Coach Lanning's spot in that parking garage during the bye week empty. It's there, and it's there, and it doesn't matter if it's 6 o'clock in the morning or 9:30 at night. His car's still there. And I don't think he's taking an Uber back and forth to his house. I think he uses his car, and he keeps it probably pretty simple. And so there is no off season. It's about, are you going to develop and are you going to commit to what you need to do to improve your skills as a baseball player? Strength is a big part of it. The off season is just the time when we play our last game to when we play our first game. And that's not the off season. That's training time, and that's the most important time.
I was going to say it really should be rebranded as training season. Right?
It is training season.
Yeah, it makes sense. So Mark Wasikowski joining us, Oregon baseball head coach. Now, the roster makeup was you've had some fall ball practices now. What have you seen from your group? What do you like?
The depth across the board. You know, a lot of the returning position players they're all back. You know, with the exception of obviously one of our favorites, Bryce Betcher, who's still out there on the football field. It's great. He's having a great career. The rest of the team's back. You know, you can go all the way around the diamond, and you're talking about kids that, for the most part, I think every one of them just about started with us as a as an incoming freshman.
Right.
And, Chase Meggers, Jacob Walsh, Drew Smith, Ryan Cooney, Maddox Maloney, Carter Garotti. You go around the outfield with Anson Arrows. And, I mean, these guys have been here now for several years. They're old. They've had a lot of at-bats under their belt. It looks like they've had a lot of at-bats under their belt. The pitching so far that we've seen through the fall is deeper. It's better. There's a couple of acquisitions we've been able to pick up that have been big, whether it's a high school kid coming in. Will Sanford is as good of a young high school arm as we've seen now in an Oregon program for a while. The transfer portal kid, Jason Wrights, is tremendous. He's 6'11", and the guy brings it. He's up to 98. He's got feel of the strike zone.
6'11", Coach Altman might want him.
Well, Dana's got plenty. He doesn't need any more. All right, so sharing guys is something I'm all about doing too, by the way. I love doing that. I think it's great. We always preach to our kids, play. You're a kid only once. And you say, oh, well, they're actually men. Well, yeah, they act like kids a lot of the time. And I want them to, I want them to feel like they've got that youthful spirit. And so even during batting practice, we don't put handcuffs on them and say you're not allowed to dive and you're not allowed to run around. And it's still at the start of the game says play ball.
It does, yeah.
Play ball. And so how about we show up every day and play ball? Get out there on the field. Who's got the dirtiest uniform at the end of the day? I don't know that you were the best player, but you probably had maybe the most fun, which is awesome.
You're such an intense coach in general, Waz, and then yet you have that fun mentality. How do you develop that culture? What is your strategy to develop? It's a work time, but also you do want to have some fun playing baseball.
Well, you just flat out let them go and you encourage it and you reward it, right? And anytime you see anything that's positive on that field, you point it out. And people like to be praised. People like to be told good job, and they're human beings, right? And so to connect with these young guys and to try to be somebody that's the old school way of doing it where you're browbeating kids and you're yelling and screaming at them and stuff, that ship sailed, and the guys that were about that, they're probably not coaching anymore or effectively anymore. And so where all of us had a little bit of that just because that's the generation that brought us up and coached us, reflecting on it and saying, okay, we can use some of that in different ways now to connect with this generation, I think is critical, and then just evolving, right? And so these kids, they do want to just play, just like in any sport. When I go to football practice, they have fun. They go out there and they're diving around the field. They're having fun. They've got an awesome environment out there. The culture word's used everywhere. I think it's a bunch of nonsense because it really gets defined in your locker room on its own. You don't need to tell people what your culture is. People can see it. And so even when we had a group of recruits in town, their families told us, wow, everything you could tell us about culture in your program was one thing, but seeing Bryce Betcher run over to the end zone when your team was being honored between timeouts and the enjoyment of your team with Bryce Betcher and his success told us everything we needed to know about what your culture was like in your locker room. So I think those actions probably speak a whole lot louder than any piece of paper or any coach talking about it.
How special was that moment just to be honored, one, the team on the field, and then two, to have Bryce race over there? That was fun for everybody to see.
Well, it was. I just was going, my gosh, I thought my first thing was what's Coach Lanning going to be thinking right now? The team probably wasn't playing their best game of the year, and that happens in college sports, and yet ironically, he came over. There's always momentum shifts in all sport, and hey, maybe that energy just energized some of his teammates that said, wow, this is really cool for him. Or maybe that energized the fans because we heard him, and they went nuts. And that was cool for the fans to really recognize what this kid's doing right now. And I still say, yeah, he's a kid, but it's spectacular. And he's from Eugene and the story's awesome. But I don't know. I just think those things, right, where – and Dan he didn't come back to the sideline and you see Dan Lanning grab him by the shirt and scream at him. As a matter of fact, when he went back to the sidelines, guys were, celebrating with him, and so was the coaching staff. Whether it was Tosh or Dan or any of those guys, the strength crew, these guys got something special when it comes to their locker room. And that's just it's probably helping guys understand the right and the wrong, but letting them have fun, right? And that's what we're all about, is how much fun can we have?
I mean, also – winning is fun. Quick time out. We're going to continue with Mark Wasikowski, Oregon baseball head coach, here in the Country Financial Studio. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Mark Wasikowski, Duck Baseball head coach. Part 2 of our conversation with him. We sat down with Waz this morning. Ducks are having some fun, covering a lot of ground with the Oregon Baseball head coach for the Burlsworth Trophy, which is given out for the best football player that started his career as a walk-on. I mean, he's the leading tackler on the #1 team in the country. You've worked with him so much on the baseball diamond. He's been drafted to play professionally, finishing out his football career. Waz, just a chance to sell those that influence the Burlsworth Trophy. Why should Bryce win it?
If you can find a kid that's better than Bryce Betcher, I'd be shocked. I mean, on the baseball field I can speak of, right? And life I can speak of. The kid, he came from a tough situation, circumstance behind the scenes. His family's got love in it like crazy, right? They support him so much. They sit behind my wife at every home game. Mm-hmm. You know, when I get a chance to work with this guy on the baseball field, he said it to me perfectly one day. He just said, the wall doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And so because I was asking him, hey, how are you so fearless about the wall? How are you so fearless about going into the wedge and breaking that up in football? And he just said they don't exist. It only exists in your mind, and if you let it be a barrier, then it's going to be a barrier. And he doesn't. He doesn't let anything get in his way, all the way down to making a football team at the University of Oregon to start with. And then earning his stripes all the way through to where he's now the starter and leading tackler on the #1 team in the country. Yeah. It's really unbelievable. You know, this guy's a draft pick with the Houston Astros on the baseball field. I'll give you a quick story. So this guy's we're in a regional at Santa Barbara, and the son of a gun comes up to me after his first at bat. We're facing a guy that's going to be a big leaguer for San Diego, and his first at bat, his hand. He swings, and this guy's sinker, he's got a lot of movement. He's throwing 98 miles an hour. Boom, it goes right off of his middle finger on his throwing hand. Breaks it, shatters it. This thing is fat, bloody, everything. He ain't coming out of the game. I don't even ask him. But he can't throw. In his next at-bats, he couldn't even grip the bat with one of his fingers, right? And so anyways, we get later in the game, and I say to Bryce, he's coming up, and it's a big situation. We're chasing a run. And he looks at me and he just goes, don't even think about taking me out right now. He goes, I know that based off my last at-bat, you probably think about hitting for me. I got you, Coach. Don't worry about it. I got you, and I'm going to – and I even told him, I said, Bryce, man, we're going to need a good at-bat right now. Mm-hmm. You know, the team first. And if you can't give the team a good at-bat, we're going to need to go to somebody else.
Right.
He goes, I got you. Sure enough, second pitch, he hits the ball over the fence, wins the game for us. And I don't know, for Bryce Betcher, this is a guy that's overcome any obstacle, but he's done it. This is for your committee or whatever you ask. He's done it in a way that is the way you want your country to look. He's done it in a positive way. He's addressed any shortcomings he's had, and he's not frowned on them. He's not frowned on people. He's just said, yeah, I may have those things, but give me a chance, and I'll work those things through, and I'll get better for you, Coach.
Yeah, what a great example of development. Right.
Huge development. This guy's passion is for the Eugene area and the people of Eugene, University of Oregon. He's had opportunities to leave, go other places. He said, no, I'm not doing any of this portal stuff. I don't care how much NIL money you give me. I'm a Duck, and I'm gonna stay here, and I'm gonna do everything I can to help this place be greater than than it is when I first got here. So I don't know. For me, this guy's a no-brainer to win whatever award that's out there the kid's up for. He needs to win it, and that's no disrespect for the people that would be up against him.
Outstanding. All right, now, Alumni Weekend. How fun was that? Got a few alums back in town.
It's always fun. When you're seeing Tyler Anderson and Scott McGuff and these guys, and they're walking around, and you're going, wow, that guy's an all-star. That guy's Major League all-star. just hanging out with us for a couple of days on a weekend, right?
Yeah.
And then you see his wonderful family, and he gets a chance to walk around the field and just go, wow, this place is really, like, this is what I had hoped, right, when I played here, whereas this is what I hoped it would start looking like with all the expectations and the feeling at the park. And the park's beautiful. Pat Kilkenny, the rest of the donors have made that place awesome, right? But it still comes down to the people and Tyler, Scott, so many alums. We didn't have 29 years worth of players.
Right.
And oddly, that 29-year gap of a program, it hits you big when you go, okay, well, those guys would be in their prime, let's say their prime money-making years, their prime giving years, their prime active years of being in golf tournaments, of being around the ballpark, and those guys don't exist.
Right.
And still now, through Tyler and Scott, we just got to work 29 times harder with the guys we have had that are alums to be able to do the things, because we're missing those 29 years, that's all of our obligations, right? Yeah. And so we're not there yet. We haven't gotten there yet, but boy, are we making progress. And that's just, it can be frustrating when we're experiencing what we all experienced, when we lose a game, when we lose a big game, when we lose a super regional game to go to Omaha. Those things, are they painful? Really painful, still are. And yet I look at those things and I say, but this is still part of that process of what we're trying to accomplish. And yeah, it's going to take a lot. And we can still do it. We can do it, and we can do it at a large level at the University of Oregon.
Mark Wasikowski, Oregon baseball head coach. You talked a little bit about the roster and what you like. A lot of important returning players just taking that jump, maybe a few guys that have been kind of those leadership people for you. What should fans expect here coming up in February?
Well, the first thing I'm excited about is the fact that my staff is I love my staff. Those guys are, and gals, we've got some girls on our staff that are really good at what they do, and my staff, whether it's Bailey with our, she's our team dietitian. She's a pro. Mm-hmm. She's going to be, at some point in time, she's going to be somewhere in some capacity in some company, maybe leading some company, and people are going to go, wow, remember when she was just a dietitian at the University of Oregon baseball program? She's awesome. Lindsay and Sarah with the Jake, they help our athletes on the academic side. They're pros. They're really, really good. The staff that I have, they've had options to go to every school in the dang country. And Rob Mullins and Pat Kilkenny, Eric Rodell, these people have kept those guys here. For me, that's where it starts. The other parts of it, the roster, the pieces that we have, they're all equally important. It doesn't matter if it's the guy with the most innings pitched or the most at-bats. Mm-hmm. I don't care who it is. They say we get 40 this year. Well, then those 40 people are equally important. They all have the same impact on the program, and you're either adding or subtracting. And our job is to make sure that we've got 40 that are adding, right, of just players. And I think we do. And that's exciting for me because they're talented kids that want to add. And I don't see a stop to the momentum. And I don't want to be blindsided by anything, but boy, it's been a lot of fun being around these coaches and this staff and these players. It's just been awesome. I'm young still, but I guess if I was 90 years old, I'd say, wow, it's keeping me young. Well, this thing is just, these kids are awesome individual people, and they're taking a team GPA to 3.3 GPA. They're doing the right things. They're good. They don't always do the right things. They screw up just like we did when we were in college, but they're not trying to. And for me, I'm just blessed to have this opportunity to be a head coach at the University of Oregon. That's been a dream of mine, and now I'm living that dream, and it's freaking awesome. And I want to make sure that we can continue the progress we're making.
What's the schedule ahead for the team heading into practices starting in the new year?
Well, we're training. That's big. We need to continue to train. We've been going all fall. We'll go all the way until basically Thanksgiving. And we've been going 3-4 scrimmages a week with practices on top of it. And then we'll peel off, and then it turns into real training time. We'll come back at the very first week of January, and then we have 36 home games starting on Valentine's Day. Get your honey.
There you go.
Bring your honey out to the ballpark, whatever. Your significant other, Valentine's Day, opening day at PK, and it's going to be 36 home games as our home slate this year, which is going to give us a ton of chances to see these guys play.
36 home games. Like to hear that. The schedule, I know, is still being ironed out completely with the conference, but fans ask me, what's the transition been like with the Big Ten? Any updates for fans? Anything that comes to mind for you?
Well, no. The people that are angry and want to be bitter about life say, oh, my gosh, it's going to be so hard to travel, this, that, and the other. And yet I look at them and go, so what? We got to travel on charter flights. Wow, that's terrible.
Right.
What a horrible life that is, just to be on a charter jet going to the East Coast. The next time they're going to get a chance to live this life is when they get to professional baseball, and maybe the only time. I don't know. Until I got here and started living a little bit of that life, I'd never been to a private airport. Are you kidding me?
Right.
I was trying to get enough money to get on a commercial flight, for God's sake, and it's not cheap. So, the life they're living is great. The Big Ten Conference, you're going to have $70 million of media rights going into each one of these schools' pockets. You're starting with the University of Oregon's #1 brand in the entire country. You're starting with the facilities that we already have. That's where our starting point is at Oregon, plus the $70 million check that Mullins and these guys get to distribute every year. I could see this being a really, really awesome thing in the next, 10 years plus as that media rights contract expires, and I'm sure there's more demand for what's going on here. I don't see this thing slowing down athletic department-wide. I can see the impact on the other side of the river when it comes to the University of Oregon.
Yep.
It's turning into a school that's not a little sleepy college town, but a place that people want to come no matter where they're at in the United States and probably even outside. My mind doesn't go that far, but awesome time to be a Duck. And, to experience what's going on across the board sport-wise it's tremendous.
Mark Wasikowski, Oregon baseball head coach. Thanks for being a Duck, Waz. Thanks for taking the time with us today. Anything else fans should know?
Well, I'd like to ask you a couple questions if that'd be okay. Yeah, so we've got a big home stretch coming up, right? So let's start with the thing fans want to know about football. What do we got? Let's talk about your predictions here for the next several weeks.
Prediction is always that the Ducks will win, and Jerry Allen will be dyeing his beard green if the Ducks go undefeated this year. So we're all rooting for that. When the Ducks go undefeated this year. Mike Jorgensen will be dyeing his goatee green. So we have a lot to root for from a broadcast perspective, not just because we are the paid fans that get to say "Go Ducks" on the air all the time.
Yeah, what a guy, man. Every time Jerry Allen, how about, the fans, if you like Oregon sports, how awesome is it to listen to Jerry Allen when you're listening to a football game and you get to listen to that guy call a game?
Yep.
That guy's, wow.
One fan described it to me that it's like wrapping a green and yellow blanket around you, listening to him, because you just feel comfortable and confident in the Ducks.
Wow.
Well said.
I got a picture of Lanning smoking a stogie with his legs crossed, and that's kind of the feeling of listening to him, do a game. It's pretty dang good, the energy that guy brings. But I like your predictions. How about a national championship? Let's just do that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, national championship in football, that can happen.
Baseball, too.
Start doing some things across the board. I can see that happening at the University of Oregon. These guys
That's why
are
you're
passionate.
here, right?
Well, that's what they pay us to do. We haven't been able to pull that off yet. So humbly, we're not living up to our end of the deal quite yet, but we will.
I love it. Anything else?
Well, we could talk all day, but no, I've got to get recruiting again.
Thanks, Waz. Appreciate your time.
Sounds great.
Duck baseball head coach Mark Wasikowski, always a great time. Oregon will be opening it up on Valentine's Day. How about that? Looking forward to baseball season. I think this is going to be a really good team, really fun team. When we come back, we're going to get to know our OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire. You heard from Saul Galvan earlier this week. Next up, Austin Oda. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Headed out down Interstate 5. My money was all spent, but I felt so alive. I was chasing down a dream.
Students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you. On the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Back in the Country Financial Studio. Inside the broadcast for you. Those of you who are watching the show, our satellite uplink, Andrew Allison, completely lost power. So now we're back on the video stream. We didn't lose you on the radio side. Apologies for the break. We actually lost power. Andrew, though, was able to get us back connected. All right, let's hear a little bit from Austin Oda, our OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire. Let you get to know a guy who's called a lot of games for KWVA. Also, will be calling a lot of games for the Big Ten Plus moving forward. Here's our chat with Austin Oda. We've heard from Saul Galvan, now the guy that, I don't know if he'll appreciate me saying this, but is Saul's boss at KWVA.
No, I love that. I love that.
Austin Oda, our other OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire. So Austin and Saul are two of the leaders for the KWVA group, and they've been doing great work for us here with the Oregon Sports Network and the connection with Quack Video. We've got all kinds of hands that are shaking right now.
Yeah.
Austin Oda joins us. You ready for
so ready
for the 2-minute life story? Have you been rehearsing?
No, actually. I promise. I promise.
Do we believe
No one
him?
believes me.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's find out if we should have believed that in 3, 2, 1.
All right. I was born in San Jose, California. I've lived in the same house my entire life. Grew up a huge San Francisco Giants fan. It was kind of like written in the stars. My parents' first date was actually at a Giants game. So, like, I mean, I kind of had to. Baseball was my big sport growing up. I played from when I was 7 to when I graduated. Fun fact about that, my high school team was a bottom 5 team in the state of California. Max Preps ranks, I think, 1,147 teams, and we were 1,143. The only reason we have wins on our schedule is because we had the same name as a different high school, and they gave us the other school's wins. So that's how the Monte Vista Matadors got their 3 wins in the 2021 season.
Wow.
But I played baseball my entire life, and then when I realized really early on that I wasn't going to play because I played professionally because I'm 5'7". My mom is 4'10" on a good day, so like there was no chance. But I also grew up doing theater, performing my whole life, and so I loved the storytelling aspect of that, and I wanted to find something that combined storytelling and sports, which were my 2 favorite things. So I always knew I wanted to broadcast. I never really did anything until I got here. And then on my first day, I saw Knight Uretsky sitting outside the EMU tabling.
Nice.
And I was hooked ever since. My freshman year, I had the privilege to call Oregon softball as the primary color that year, traveled to Fayetteville, Arkansas, which was unbelievable, especially as a freshman. I actually didn't grow up watching much football, so I've told people this. I don't know if you know this. My first full football game I ever watched was Oregon, Georgia.
No kidding.
Which was also my first play-by-play call.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
I did not know that.
I don't know what I did to get there. I should not have been there, but I was. Spent my sophomore year calling a little bit of Oregon football, a little Oregon softball, and then my junior year a little more of the same. And now this year we're calling Oregon football. We've called some Big Ten plus volleyball, and I'm lining up to call baseball in the spring. So I'm super excited, super grateful for where this station has taken me, and the trajectory it's on is kind of unbelievable from where we started. So I think that's it, but I'm not sure how I did.
230.15.
230?
230. So if we took Austin and Saul and put them together, record time.
See, I was scared because I thought when I was listening to Saul's, I thought he was going long.
Nope.
And so I was like, okay, well, I feel like then I have to extend. So I threw in the bit about, not calling football or not listening. That's true. But I did throw in that bit just like to extend.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
So
who won?
I think technically Saul did.
What did he get?
Yeah. He got like a minute 30. What did I say? Minute 35. Yeah, he won.
What's like the longest ever? Is it that?
Devin Shea, our Associate Athletic Director of Facilities and Events. It was more than double 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel as bad now.
No. No, we've had some that are like 3, 4.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, but again, like when you're an older person, you got more to say.
Right.
Yeah. But you're just a good storyteller, and you put in some good bits, and here we are.
Cool.
2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Austin Oda joining us. So, sports director at KWVA. You mentioned you're going to call some baseball, so the Big Ten Plus with these streams. And again, wanted to let you kind of behind the curtain a little bit today in our conversation with Saul and Austin. So, get to do some baseball. You've also done some summer league baseball. Like what's been the trajectory so far?
Yeah. So you led me in such a good direction. I can talk about the crawdads forever. After my freshman year, I continued the KWVA to CCL, California Collegiate League pipeline.
There's a lot of KWVA folks that have done CCL baseball.
But I went a little more close to home, so I spent the summer in Walnut Creek with the Walnut Creek Crawdads. I was just the play-by-play broadcaster after my freshman year. And then I had a conversation with our general manager, or the owner, Brant Cummings, and he was like, hey, do you want to be the GM? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I've been the general manager of this summer league baseball team for the last couple of years, and I think that's kind of, to some extent, what I want to do a little more as my life goes on, some more of the administrative stuff. Yeah, that's been the big thing, is calling Crawdads baseball over the last couple summers. I've also started bringing more KWVA people to the Crawdads, and then Crawdads people to KWVA, so it's been a good little mix.
Yeah, there's those connections, right? You start to know each other in this industry. Now, the Crawdads, I'm hoping, have had better success than your high school team.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
On the field, we've been great.
So you're a better GM than you were a player.
Yeah. Still, the jury's still out on if Austin Oda can construct a championship-winning roster. We're still figuring that out. Made the semifinals my sophomore year. Made the championship this year, but this is good news for you and for me now, I think. Back-to-back Ducks shut us out in the postseason.
Oh, well, I guess that's good.
So it's great news. Great news.
Yeah, that's good. There are a lot of Ducks that play in that league, right? And so, it's funny. It's been fun for me as the voice of the baseball team here to talk with you and others that have done those summer leagues. I get a little bit of a scouting report from folks that were on the summer play-by-play route, which has been fun. So that's been a cool thing. I know you've enjoyed it.
So much.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to ask you to put the student hat on like I did for Saul. Why did you choose to come to Oregon, and how's it been since you got here?
So my mom always told me, when you go to campus the first time, whatever campus it is that you're gonna end up at, you'll be able to know the second you get there. And I remember I came the summer after my sophomore year, so summer of 2019, and I stepped on campus, and I was like, cool, this is it. I remember going to the EMU, looking out the window, and there was someone plopped in the middle of the EMU green just on a blanket alone, and I was like, you know what? I vibe with that. That's cool.
All right.
And that was kind of the moment. My mom has a picture of me looking out the window. I am so sad to admit I was wearing a Stanford shirt.
No!
Because I grew up in the Bay Area.
Oh.
Yeah, that one's on me.
Thank you, Scott.
It's better than being a Husky lover. And I've given up my affiliation since. I promise. But
Jerry is gonna be so happy about this.
I knew from the second I got here. Was there a second question?
Has it been since?
I love it. I mean, it's incredible. I love the university. I love all the people I've met, and of course, like the time at KWVA has been incredible. The SOJC is amazing. Getting to work with you a little more now that you're an official faculty member.
Kind of.
Official enough.
I don't know what that
That's
means.
been great, and I love the school so much.
Well, thanks. We're glad that you chose Oregon. I mean, it's like it's funny because everybody has that sort of moment of like, yeah, this fits. You know, if it's somewhere that they're gonna stay for a long time, that's cool that you got to have that. All right, what are you gonna do with your life? Administration. It sounds like you're not gonna be a broadcaster after you've been the OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire. Whatever.
We'll see. We've talked about this. I kind of want to end up doing what you're doing. If I could draw it out, I would go work in the Bay Area. I want to start somewhere, a little smaller than a Power 5 University of Oregon, with Phil Knight here, but I would love to go work at Cal Poly SLO or San Jose State. I want to stay in college athletics. I want to call baseball, and that's if someone was like, okay, Austin, call football, I'd be like, okay, twist my arm. But I'd be, but I want to call baseball, and I want to teach at some point in life as well. And I do love the administrative side. I love the phrase my dad always used to use was how are you putting people in a position to succeed? And that's kind of what I've thought of since then, and that's what I want to keep doing with my life is putting people in places to succeed.
Well, you've put a lot of people in places to succeed with KWVA, now with the Big Ten Plus. What's it been like for you? Because you've been the spearhead of this, right? You're the one sitting in the KWVA leadership chair when there's more TV opportunities. There's so much growth here at the U of O and with broadcast. Just take fans behind the curtain. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I get a little emotional every time I talk about this because when I started my freshman year, we had 9 people total, I think, and 4 broadcasters.
COVID.
Yeah, I mean, COVID really killed it. And just the rebuild since then has been unbelievable. I sent to our leadership group chat yesterday. Over the next month, we have 25 games, and we have 16 different broadcasters on those games, which I am so incredibly proud of. So that's been the biggest thing. The relationship with the Big Ten has been great. Alex Stimson deserves a shout out whenever he
shout out Alex. Shout out.
Though I'd never say it to his face. This is such a sidebar, but I don't think I've ever heard someone say something nice about Alex Stimson to his face because you can't let him have that. Even though everyone loves him.
There's your real behind the broadcast because Alex. I did baseball games. I did baseball games with Alex.
Yeah.
But I don't think Alex and I will say this, I don't think Alex got the Duck fan love for him as a broadcaster that he deserves because the bus ride to the airport before traveling to UCLA, Alex was the voice of the team with me that year, and that was when we got the phone call saying, nope, games are canceled. What? And then the next year, Alex did color for us on baseball with a wireless mic sitting in the stands because we couldn't have fans at PK Park. It was so I say this all the time, and I have said this to Alex's face, that I think Alex is a true Swiss Army knife, a master of so many different things, maybe a master of trades. And it's awesome to hear that and have him be able to work with you all more. I know that's been rewarding for him, too.
Yeah, he's been great.
Yeah, that's sweet. What'd we miss?
I don't know.
What else should fans know?
About me?
I don't know. It's a purposefully open-ended broadcaster question.
Man, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm really excited for baseball season. I will say, I was right about women's basketball. It was a tough year last year. I think a lot of people were scared for this year. There was a time about a month ago where Chris Clayton and I were in here, and he was like, I think women's basketball is going to be good this year. And I was like, I think women's basketball is going to be really good this year. And I was right. That's going to be the last thing I say.
That's a good hot take that wasn't hot by you.
Yeah.
Austin Oda, OSN broadcast intern extraordinaire. You'll hear his voice a lot on the Big Ten Plus broadcast originating from the University of Oregon. And you'll probably see him and Saul sitting here hosting the show when I'm on the road with basketball and baseball one of these days. Austin, thanks for being a Duck.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. And here's to a successful winning roster.
Yes, sir.
Austin Oda, Mark Wasikowski, fun interviews. When we come back, a fun game for women's basketball last night, reviewing a 2-point gritty win for the Ducks on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear autumn leaves, you won't be covering roads alone this season. Take on fall in the powerful Toyota Tundra or tackle trails in a Tacoma. Head to Toyota.com for more info. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear autumn leaves, you won't be covering roads alone this season. Take on fall in the powerful Toyota Tundra or tackle trails in a Tacoma. Head to Toyota.com for more info. Toyota, let's go places.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
This message is for Shauna, my mom, who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle.
Or forget extra diapers.
You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A 70-68 win for Oregon women's basketball yesterday. Ducks shot 47%, only 25% from three, but they were only 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. A really balanced scoring attack. Mina Muhammad scored 10, Peyton Scott 13, and then in her return to the starting lineup, Filipina Che, 5 of 9 from the floor, 11 rebounds, a double-double with 14 points. Overall, just a really impressive performance from the Ducks, including, 19 fouls, and then Auburn had 22 fouls. I think both teams would say clunky because of the fouls, but what a win for the Ducks. They finished the game hitting 5 of their last 7 field goals, and the second quarter was really what drove it home for Kelly Graves' team. They outscored Auburn 24-15 in that second quarter to win 70-68. The Ducks with a great victory. Again, Filipina Che back in the starting 5. When she's in there, the Ducks are really good. 6-0 for the first time since starting 8-0 in the 2021 season. Ducks have won 70 of their last 72 non-conference home games. That's impressive. Really impressive. Oregon beat Auburn for the first time ever. How about that note? Tigers won both of the previous matchups in 1989 and 1990. I bring this up because the last time Oregon played Auburn was 1990. Not very often that you get an SEC team here in Eugene. Ducks did that. Ducks got a win, and the Ducks are still the only team in the country that are undefeated in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball, and Oregon men's basketball hopes to keep that going tonight when they take on the Beavers in Corvallis at 7 o'clock, 6:30 pregame show for us in the Oregon Sports Network. All right, it's a quick segment because we had some long interviews. When we come back, let's hear a little bit from women's basketball postgame as the Ducks got a nice win over Auburn. Stick with us. Finishing it up after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
August was born 3 pounds, 9.8 ounces. When I first saw him, it was a whole range of emotions. There's stuff I still want to do. Being a young dad, it's not giving up. It's shifting. I looked through his eyes. I can envision a whole future with him already. To throw the first football to him, give him ice cream for the first time. My life is now devoted to his life.
Through all of fatherhood's firsts, never stop being a dad. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. Hearing a bit now from Peyton Scott and Philly Che postgame. Ducks are 6-0 in women's basketball. Big 2-point win over Auburn last night. Peyton Scott, Philly Che afterwards.
Philly, just your feeling, playing those minutes and contributing the way that you did, working your way back in the early part of the season. Like, how great was that for you?
I mean, it felt really good, Obviously, I was working my way back from injury, and my teammates had my back the whole time, so that made me feel good.
You described Philly game 1 to Philly game 6.
Man, a whole different person. Philly, and we knew she was going to come back. I mean, sometimes it would take Philly a little time, but she was going to show up when we need her, and we needed her tonight, and she showed up big.
You kind of let out a roar on one of the end ones. Are you... The emotions of this moment, or are you feeling them more just as the season has started to progress?
Yes, it was great. Whenever I show that much emotions, it means, want to get my teammates going and they know what time it is. So, yeah. That's right.
How has this tested your patience? Because obviously you want to be out there. You're able to play a little bit, but to kind of be on a minutes restriction, obviously this must have felt good. But how would that kind of handle that?
I wouldn't say it really bugged me that much because I knew my teammates were going to step up. Especially Amina and Lexi, they showed up and played big whenever, we needed them to. So I was very happy, and that made me want to fight harder.
Peyton, obviously, Philly provides points, rebounds, but what else on the floor that maybe people can't see does Philly give this team?
I mean, presence. Her presence under the basket. We talked a lot about just walling up and not, necessarily having to block shots, but just her presence down there altering shots. I know in practice when I see her, I get a little scared sometimes. So, yeah, I would say that's a big one for us, just her presence and knowing that, if we don't always do our job, that she's going to be down there helping us out.
Hey, Coach was talking about, given their defensive activity in the first quarter, you guys made some adjustments, started attacking the middle of the floor a little bit more. Given that, but also just how tightly officiated it was, it seemed like a hard game to establish rhythm. Just talk about the job you did, maybe kind of keeping your composure, dealing with maybe some conditions you might not have anticipated, having to kind of adjust on the fly.
Yeah, great question. I think you can't go into a game expecting how the refs are going to call it or how the other team's going to play or the scout. And so I think this is really a game of just adapting every quarter, especially at halftime. You come in, you might have thought you had one game plan, and you got to change some things, and that's how it goes. That's why you get 4 quarters, and that's why you get a halftime. So we just had to make those adjustments and be disciplined. There were some times where we didn't always adjust, and we did try to block, and they would get and ones, or we were able to draw some charges on those quick whistles. So just adjusting and adapting to how it's going to be called, and if they're going to call it tight, then that's kind of out of our control.
Peyton, what are some things this game maybe taught you about this group? What are you taking away from it?
I think this game, but I think the rest of our games is we got fight. We're not just gonna lay down for anybody. We don't care who we're playing, and so I know that 1 through 15 is going to be ready to come in and make an impact, and it shows every game. Whenever we might have a lull, there are people on our bench that are going to come in and revamp that intensity, whoever it may be. Today we had, obviously Philly did that, but Nani came in, Elisa came in, Lex came in, just everyone doing their job and showing up for each other.
Philly, you were on the floor when Mevius hit the shot against Baylor, and she did it again, hit another big shot. What does it say about her that she's not taking a bunch of shots, but when she does, she makes them count at the end of the game?
I mean, I think she knows her role. She's not one to take all the shots, but she helps out on defense, and when it's time to make the shot, she will make it. So
great stuff from Peyton Scott, Filipina Che. Good win for Oregon women's basketball last night. 6-0 now for the Ducks. They're getting ready for their tournament over the Thanksgiving holiday. They're actually traveling today. The Ducks will be taking on a couple good opponents. On Monday at 4 o'clock in Hawaii, the Ducks will play Georgia Tech. And then at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, the Ducks will play South Dakota State, hoping to move to 7-0 and then 8-0 before heading back home. Oregon men's basketball in action tonight, trying to keep this streak alive of undefeated in both basketballs and football. 7 o'clock start for the Ducks. 6:30 pregame with myself and Luke Jackson in Corvallis. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Austin. Thanks to Waz. See you tomorrow. Picks.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating.